back here wrapping up the fuel tank installation. The impulse tank comes with support for the factory gauge sender here. You just bend the rod to allow for the high and low. Factory fuel pump, I actually transferred that from my other supercharged sled, the OEM tank. That has a 255 LPH in-tank pump. When I do my Skidoo XP tank, I'll do an external, but for this year, this will be good. So this runs up and feeds the fuel rail, and then it comes back through the FPR. So that line feeds the fuel rail, comes back through the FPR right here. This is where I will be able to set my pressure, and then that goes back into the tank right next to the fuel sender right here. And then there is a vent valve. So this top line here, you can see it's backed by this. So this is a vent tube, goes up and loops around the handlebars just like the OEM one did. So it goes up and then back down, and then there's a little barb on that footwell. And then lastly is the OEM gas tank with it looks like a fuel vent. This was on the impulse tank when I got it. I don't know why it's so long or exactly what that is. I believe it's some sort of one-way check valve vent, but not 100% sure. I can't see any holes anywhere in it. But at any rate, the tank is also secured. It is fastened down, and I'm ready to, I'm going to put some duct tape on top of that to protect the wires from chafing and moving around underneath the seat. But now I have a modified Boss seat that fits over all of that and covers it all up. So get moving and installing that, and then I just need to plumb my boost control solenoid, and then I think it's ready to fire. Also, the factory wiring harness for the fuel pump wasn't long enough, so this is what you get from the factory. So the impulse kit actually has a nice extended version one here. It gets plumbed all the way around. Everything is routed on the cold side of the turbo. Obviously, we don't want any fuel lines next to the hot side, so everything comes in, goes around the cold side intake to feed everything on that side of the sled, and we just got a big, huge open area for airflow for that turbo hot side to breathe and not melt anything. So nice design tank. It really is a well-designed system from Impulse, and if I didn't want the Skidoo XP tank so bad, to be able to put up a 2-up seat or a different kind of seat and storage options, I'd stick with this Impulse tank. It's a really nice kit. It's also 11.5 gallons, so that should, OEM's 10, so that's nice to have a little extra. Right, look at that. Modified Boss seat on top of the Impulse tank, starting to look like a snowmobile again. I just wonder how this seat feels. If only we had Test Rider. Thanks, Ruby. All right, kind of a pivotal first moment. Going to test prime the fuel system, and I'm looking for this gauge to see what kind of PSI we get. There's just a gallon in the tank, maybe. I'm kind of wanting to see how low it'll actually pick up fuel. I've got another 5 gallons I'll put on if this doesn't work, but I figured let's give it a shot. I'm gonna zoom in here, let's see what happens. Not good. I got no pressure right now. Do this maybe a couple times. Yeah, let me add some fuel. I'll be back. Not good. More troubleshooting. Oh, I found my problem. I hooked up the fuel pressure regulator backwards. So my return line is coming out of the side, and my feed was coming in from the bottom. And just looking at the quick schematic on the inner net, and I'm supposed to feed it into the side and bypass out the bottom. Back to the drawing board. So I guess that was easier than I thought. What I did is I made a new line, my OEM fitting line. I took that off, put this fuel hose, goes down, makes a loop and comes in to the FPR in the back here on the 90-degree elbow. And then the return came out, and I had enough line to get back to the tank. That was originally here. I just moved it up here like that. And guess what? It's hooked up. So let's try to see if we get fuel pressure now. I know for sure the fuel pump was pumping because I got a nice little shower when I disconnected it. So I know we had pressure. So that's a good thing. All right. Hoping for 40-ish PSI. That's better. It's holding about 38. Not sure why it doesn't stay that, but maybe that's normal. Once it builds pressure. Just checking for leaks now. That's a great sign. That's actually close to where I need it to as well. Maybe just need to add a little bit, but I might start it with that. Right now I don't have the FPR right here. I don't have that hooked up. I'm waiting to hook that up. The instructions were dial in around 43 PSI with this not hooked up to vacuum. So when you start it, it'll actually suck some pressure down, and that's supposedly the right way to do it. So I was going to load my Motec program for the bigger injectors and then try to fire it later this weekend. So all in all, this is positive. I'm getting enough good fuel pressure right on prime. Looks like about 36 pounds. So that'd be good enough to start it and try to figure out what I like from there and keep moving on. So dodged a bullet. I was thinking I was going to have to replumb and reposition this and move it in a different spot everywhere. So great news. We can keep moving forward. Just a quick update. I found a spot for my boost control solenoid. This is on the right hand side of the sled, just above the radiator. There's a cast-in boss in the frame right here. It's a 12mm bolt. It was for my reverse mechanism. I'm not sure, I haven't told anybody much about the reverse mechanism, but if you look down there, I have modified this with my emergency brake cable. So I was able to, to flip into reverse, I used the emergency brake versus the cumbersome lever that weighs about 25 pounds on this side. Right, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it weighs like 5 pounds legitimately, and it freezes up constantly. And I've had this e-brake reverse kit that I just designed on my own with some help with Total Yamaha 4-strokes, where they originally got it from, and the idea. And it's worked awesome. So what it did is it freed up this spot on this bulkhead, and I drilled and tapped this bracket for T1. My teal wastegate is actually just right around the corner down there. You can see it in black. And I'm just going to run my 2 lines out to here. This is a 4-port solenoid. And then on this side, the barb right there, that will go out to the intercooler. And so I've got a nice line that I can run right to the intercooler. It'll go there. It's protected from heat, and it won't interfere with the steering or anything like that. Just a great spot for it. I just need to extend these wires over to the other side. That's where I have my harness coming through. But this would be a great spot. It'd be a nice, short, good response. It's probably about 20 inches from the intercooler and about 10 to each side of the wastegate. So I'm excited for the 4-port to control part of it. That's where it applies pressure on the bottom and the top, and it can really help your response and be able to tune your nice tight boost control. So this will take a lot of time with the Motec though. With the Motec, you need to go through an iterative process to find what duty cycle this solenoid on this system, with this response, with this length plumbing, etc., how it responds and how it controls boost. So kind of a long process, and don't exactly know what I'm going to do yet, but Motec has some good webinars that I've watched, and they seem to kind of have a process. So we'll give it a whirl, and I'm hoping that I can hold nice 23 PSI. That's what my baseline boost is going to be. And then once we get it out to Ulma Racing and his dyno, we're going to really turn it up and see where's the edge of knock, detonation, boost, you know, all that stuff. So, but for now, 23 PSI will be enough for a good kick in the shorts, and probably good for around 400 horsepower, maybe a little more, a little less, somewhere in there. So we're making progress finally. All right, with that, that's the final piece of the puzzle. Where do things go and how do they get mounted? Super excited to be done with that. And now it's just buttoning up things. Get the seat on, get the brake light on, get the headlight pod on. Next episode will be firing up the sled, but to do that I'll need to scale for the larger injectors with the Motec. So I'll show you how to do that, so stay tuned.